Hey guys. Welcome to episode 3 of Profit Talk. Tonight we're talking about ROI, your fees, understanding your fees,
Making money.
Exactly how to stop all the posts that say, "How did I lose money on this?" That's what we'd like to do. What did that say? It's 800. Oh. Well, Adam's in there. Start the show, and apparently I was like a minute or two late starting the show.
Yeah, your clock's always 2 minutes slow.
Well, like, oh my god! Sorry, I forgot to mute it. Yeah, like my laptop says 7:04, but last time you were like, no, it's not 7 yet.
Whatever.
Okay. So anyway. Anyway, sorry. I had a discussion, actually a very interesting discussion with Bill about ROI and how you figure ROI for, like pick any product that you've sold. How do you calculate the ROI? And I am surprised by the number of people that use their gross numbers to figure ROI, and the people that how many people use the price that they sold an item for because like to figure ROI, it's gains minus cost divided by cost.
Which is returns on investment, if you don't know what ROI
yeah. ROI is your return on investment. So the calculation for ROI is gains minus cost divided by cost. Well, for me, gains are my true profit minus my cost divided by my cost. So if I sold something for $25, I'm not getting $25. I'm getting whatever I get after the fees, what it costs to send it into FBA and all that stuff.
I think that goes along. Sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think that same problem goes along with people's issues when they're doing returns. And they're like, I lost $80. And it's like, no, you didn't. You lost your shipping fee and what you paid for it. You lost $26. You know what I mean? Right. But a lot of people think that the money that they got, that's the money that they made. And that's not the case.
Exactly.
Not yours.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, that's like one of the reasons I jumped on this topic so quickly was because I was absolutely blown away. I've been like asking people here and there how they figure their profit and that kind of thing, and it kind of blows my mind. How many people don't figure out what their profits are and what return they're getting on things. Like how many people that just don't pay attention to it at all.
Yeah,
and
I use a couple different resources to figure out what things are going to come out for me on the end. I use salescalc.com. That will do eBay, that will do Etsy, that will do Bonanza, that will do Amazon Merchant Fulfilled, and it also has a very nice mobile website, format that's simple and easy to use. And so if I have a question about anything, I just put it in there and make sure that what I'm picking up is worth me picking up. I think a lot of people get into this is why you have to know your ROIs, because people are buying things that it's just not worth your time. I mean, if you're new or maybe you've got one store and you're kind of forced to pick up these little low ROI items, say that's your business and that's what you got. You work with what you got. But I have lots of resources, and I had to really get down to the nitty-gritty of the numbers and, okay, this thing is heavy. It's going to cost this much to ship. I always make sure to use the shipping calculator. I'll make sure that we get that posted in the in the description to use the shipping calculator, because it'll tell you USPS, FedEx, and UPS. And then use your calculator to figure out what's your return going to be, because I really do, like Danica, I see a lot of people that come out and they're like, I made nothing, and they don't know why or how. Especially when it comes to FBA.
FBA, and so many people, we've got the FBA calculator, which is a great resource, but you do, like Bill, I'm probably going to refer back to that conversation the whole time, but he brought up something, and it didn't even occur to me that some people don't realize that your cost of buying the item needs to come out of what it tells you, the profit's going to be. That little green number down at the bottom. And I was like, I mean, that just blew me away. I was like,
Also,
well, of course it doesn't have that, but I didn't think about that. People really, there are people that don't realize that you need to take that number and then you need to subtract your cost from that number.
The app will do that. If you press
right, yeah, the app does, but I mean on the computer.
Yes, I noticed another flaw with the SBA revenue calculator last week. That for me, it was not automatically deducting the picking fee, the weight fee, and there's 3 fees that come in addition to your normal FBA fees. They're broken into 2 separate things. And so I was looking at things that I already had at the warehouse, and it'll tell you on your Seller Central how much your fees are going to be. And they're actually there's 2 parts of your fees. And because you see your fees, and then it'll say FBA fees, and then this fee, and then your total is this. When I was looking at the revenue calculator, it was only giving me half of what I was actually paying for my items, and that would really mess somebody up if they had a really low, like a low-cost item, like a $12.95, those $12.95, $14.95 items, and they're thinking their fees are only $3 and something, and their fees are $7 and something. That's a huge difference in whether something's profitable or you're actually losing money selling it.
Dusty, what do you use the fee calculator, or do you use something else?
I'm sorry, what? I'm just kidding. Somebody in the chat was like, "You look way too serious." So I was like,
"You did look serious."
What? It depends on the item. I mean, for me, because I'm kind of transitioning more into like bulk buying, where I'd buy 100 of an item. So then I typically, if I'm in a store and having to decide on buying 100 of an item, then yeah, I'll use the FBA, I'll use the Amazon Seller app or whatever. But sometimes I'll actually go find a quiet place in the store. I'll sit down with a pen and paper and I'll do the math, or I'll sit down with my calculator on my iPhone and do the math, or I'll even go out to the car and do my math. But if it's just a one-off, I mean, I've kind of got a good idea. It's if I'm getting 3 or 4 times my money back, then I don't really need a calculator to figure out, hey, I'm going to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no. It's really more important with either people that are first starting out or
right.
people that are selling lower cost items, because we do see, and we have seen recently, people talking about, why am I even sending in these DVDs or these books or these things?
CDs,
and you're like, why are you sending them in? Because you're losing money. You're paying Amazon to sell those things for you. You're not going to make a dime.
And you learn that too, though, because I remember when I first started FBA, I mean, yeah, I kind of used the calculator for everything until I finally figured out, I kind of started grasping at my head that, hey, if I send a CD in based on the fact that it weighs 5 ounces or whatever it was, that they're going to charge me FBA fees roughly $3.50 whatever cents. So if I see that this CD is selling for at least $3.50 or whatever that figure was, I don't remember, plus my cost of acquisition, then I can make money.
Well,
and
another thing,
a lot of smaller items too. I'd pay $0.25 for CDs, knowing that if I sold them for $5.99, I would still get my quarter back plus some money.
Right.
Well, another thing to consider is not even doing FBA on those items. I had something that I bought for $1.50. It was on clearance, and I was doing a test, and I bought 10 of them. And I just did a merchant fulfilled. The rank was god-awful, so people would have normally not even bought the things. But I was selling like 2 or 3 a week, so within a month they were all gone. And I sold them merchant fulfilled, and they were really light. They only were like 6 ounces. And the minimum charge that you're going to get on something that's not media is $4.99. So I was paying $2 and something to ship it, getting $4.99 credit plus the $8.95 or whatever I was deciding to sell it for. I was coming out with $8 profit on these items that if I would have sent them FBA, I would have made like $1. Like, so
Yeah.
between $8, that was an $80 profit, as opposed to if I sent them FBA, I would have made $8 on,
And then when it goes back to eBay, as far as figuring your ROI there and figuring out if you're going to make money, I see a lot of those posts too. I saw a post today that said, how do I ship a Guitar Hero guitar, which is funny because we were talking about it on the morning show this morning. How much is it going to cost me? And there's not really. I mean, I remember when I first started eBay, there wasn't, and of course back then there weren't all these levels. There weren't flat rate boxes. There weren't flat rate envelopes. I mean, it was just by the pound. But I remember asking myself, okay, how much is this going to cost me to ship? And I remember literally I would go on every single item. I would put it on my scale, add a pound or two for packaging, and I would put 90210. If this tells you it was in the 90s, I'd put 90210 for the zip code to figure out my worst case scenario.
Don't do that.
And it was, and it was like, but I mean, now I've got a better grasp of it up here. I know that 3 pounds to California is going to run me $12 if it's not flat rate. I mean, I've kind of starting to figure it out. Of course, the post office changes it every time you figure it out. But, I remember doing all that. And there wasn't any easy formula where you could go to the eBay calculator and figure it out. You just kind of, when you were charging shipping, you kind of just had to guess. When you were setting your shipping for your listings. And it's not a whole lot different today. I mean, that's one of the reasons I've gone to free shipping on everything. I know if it weighs 2 or 3 pounds, I can figure in $12 for shipping and just add that to my cost of whatever it's going for, and figure that in and just do free shipping and hope I come out okay. But yeah, there's not really an easy way to do that as far as eBay.
I think the big thing that I want people to get tonight is to pay attention and to learn a little something. Like, so many people just jump into this because they think it's going to be fun, and it sounds like such a fun thing to shop and make money, and they don't do any research and they don't really learn anything. They just do it for a little while until they see, oh, that little foray cost me $1,000, to play around for a couple of months. And I don't want to see that happen to people, so I really am hoping that it's going to make people think about how they're spending their money, what they're actually getting back for the money that they're spending, and just pay a little bit of attention. You know what I mean?
You see a lot of people selling things like coffee cups because they got them for $0.25 or $0.10 at a garage sale, and then they'll sell them for $10 free shipping, and that's a 2-pound box.
Yep.
That's $8.
They're a pain in the butt to ship, and I don't know. Just think. I guess that's what it comes down to. I want people to think.
You learn. It's something that you learn. I learned, over time, and I'm really good now about estimating how much something's going to cost. Learn about the different shipping options, though. Learn about FedEx and learn about UPS and the different options that you have, because you can really mess yourself up on your profits if you're not investigating other shipping options. I see a lot of people that are like, oh, it's going to cost $35 to ship this priority, and I'm like, I know for a fact that wouldn't be more than $15 FedEx. Like, it's just not gonna be.
I was also fortunate and blessed enough that I worked for a couple of years in my dad's UPS stores, and people would come in and they'd say, and you get a lot of resellers, they'd walk in with their big item and they'd say, I'm selling this on eBay and I didn't know how much this is going to cost to ship. And you're like, okay, where are you shipping it to? And they're like, well, I haven't sold it yet. And being in the Southeast, we actually had this zip code printed out and put on all the computers at all the workstations, and for the employees there to remember. And it was 99362. It was Walla Walla, Washington. And you want to talk about 90210 being bad? It was worse. I don't know if it was in the middle of the woods or what it was, but when you would add that into the UPS calculator, it would add like a $7.50 rural surcharge on top of that.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You consider it was Walla. So we used to joke about it. And so you'd give them, you'd say, hey, here's the worst case scenario, unless it goes to Alaska or Hawaii. But if it goes here in the United States, worst case price is this, based on that Walla Walla, Washington zip code. And it's just, it's not easy to I don't know. It's not. I don't like seeing people lose money either. But it's, when somebody asks a question like they did, this morning on that Guitar Hero, I don't know what to tell them. It's hard. You don't know where they're at. If you got lucky enough that you live in Kansas, I mean, you're kind of in the middle of the United States, so it's going to be 50% one way and 50% one way. But if you live like Ronnie Hart and I were talking about that the other day, and I was like, man, that must really suck to live in, in where does he live? Cape Cod or whatever it is, up there in the north somewhere.
Cape Cod.
But, I said, I bet you cringe every time you see Seattle or you see,
No
San
doubt.
Diego, So it's just, I don't know. It's kind of you kind of have to make mistakes as you go. I mean,
I agree. I agree on mistakes, but I think the bigger mistake that they're making is in running on such slim margins. And like Deb said, not everybody's going to have, the opportunity to run it, 100, 200, 400% ROI, but if you're running really slim margins, you're going to need to pay a whole lot closer attention to the fees and things like that. And I would urge you all to, I'm surprised by how many people have never even looked at the Amazon fee page. They break it down for you guys, the fees, the order handling fees, the pick and pack fees, and everything, the weight handling charges. It's all there. You can go and look at it to at least get some kind of idea, of what the FBA are. Go ahead.
Stop pausing for 2 seconds. When you're done.
I know. Sorry. My brain don't work so fast.
I know a lot of people get caught up on merchant fulfilled and don't realize that the shipping credits that you get from merchant fulfilled are not going to cover your shipping costs 95% of the time. Because the way that it works is the first pound is $4.99 and you get a 50-cent credit for each additional pound, which means something that's like 5 pounds comes out to what? $7 credit, something like that. And we all know we're not shipping anything 5 pounds for $7 unless it's in our state. So you can really get messed up if you have something going, all the way across the nation, and it's going to cost you $14 to ship it, and you didn't get credit for it, and you also were not charging enough. So you have to pay attention to that and make sure you put your costs into, your cost of shipping, worst case scenario, into your costs for merchant fulfilled, because otherwise, and I've seen this a lot, especially with games, because sometimes they're too big, and so their dimensions go out, and then also they're heavy. I mean, games are like 4 or 5 pounds sometimes. I know the Kadoo, or the Caribou game I sent was like 4 pounds or something like that, and it was, and I didn't get a big credit for that. I got like $6.50.
If I
cost $12 to ship it.
And when I'm setting an item to price for either Amazon or eBay, I know with eBay or with Amazon, I'm going to get that set price because it shows you when you list it what you're going to get. I always have in the back of my mind, hey, this weighs 5 pounds. If this goes to Walla Walla, Washington, it's going to cost me $16 or whatever.
Stop saying that, because our next order is going to be from Walla Walla, Washington.
I don't know how my little brother actually discovered that in the store one day. He's like, oh my God, I found the worst zip code ever. And I was like, write it down. And for years we joked about it, and we could never find a worse zip code. So sorry if you live in Walla Walla, I apologize, but don't order from me.
I actually know where Walla Walla is.
Do you really?
Yes.
Sounds like something off like Dr. Dolittle, like some island off the coast of Washington State or something, but whatever.
Yeah, we lived in northern Idaho for like 5 or 6 years, so.
So it's like, is it pretty rural?
It is, but I don't understand why there would be a $7 surcharge for it. I mean, it's not that darn rural,
It was like the worst zip code ever, but
like,
it may not be the post office, but
yeah.
Yeah, so when we're talking about things like merchant, for like today, right, I had an order. I know it weighs 7 pounds to ship. I've shipped them many times. I've sold those items before. My shipping credit was $7.49. I'm not going to be shipping that anywhere for $7.49. Like, it's a 7-pound item.
So when you decided to sell that item, you basically had to factor in, hey, I need to make sure I'm making enough ROI on the item to account for those worst case shipping.
I sold it for $99.
And
but if I was selling it for $39, that would have been a big difference. You know?
Hello, husband.
Yeah, he just got here.
And you had very little cost in it, correct?
I paid $5.99 for it.
Okay, so for the ones that went next door to you, somewhere in Texas, you came out really, really good. But the ones, the worst case, you just made a little less, basically.
Right. Right, but if it was, like I said, if I sold it for $29, and $29 on a 5 is not, that's not a bad turnaround. I think that's typical for most people. $5 to $30, is kind of a typical turnaround. And doing that on Amazon, going from eBay to Amazon, that doesn't work to price it that way. A typical eBay sell, you're not going to make as, you might even lose money or barely skim by on an Amazon sale like that.
Right.
What? What did you like? I missed. I didn't understand what you just said. Like, merchant fulfill and eBay. What?
I said if you like a typical sell on eBay, you buy something for $5 and you sell it for $30. That's kind of a reasonable turnaround. A lot of people buy things for $4 or $5 and they sell it for $35 and they're happy with that. But if you had that same kind of concept and you're like, I'm going to sell this $5 item Amazon, really as much money, you're barely going to even kind of make it worth your while to sell it for $30.
I got you.
So you have to
misunderstood.
shift your thinking. You have to shift your thinking from eBay to Amazon because it's two totally different markets.
Right, I got you. I completely misunderstood what you were saying. Like,
what? I'm always perfectly clear, and I never ramble on. What are you talking about?
No, me either.
One of my things that I've seen recently in the forums a lot is I've seen a couple of comments that, my item is $29.99. If I sell at FBA, it's $29.99, and they're going to eat 30% of the profit. I'm not paying that. Well, if you stop and think about that, let's take a $29.99 FBA item. If you were to merchant fulfill it, you would get, what, $19.99? Let's say you got $19.99 plus $9.99 shipping, which is not going to give you that much shipping credit. Mm-hmm. But then you still have to pay your shipping out of that $9.99. You still have to pay your Amazon fees out of that. And I don't think people factor in when they look into going into FBA, that $29.99 includes all your Amazon fees and includes the shipping guaranteed to the customer. So even if you only netted $22 on a $30 item, you're still typically going to be about the same wash as you do merchant fulfilled if you did it the same price. And I've seen that pop up in a couple of threads here lately, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's 30%. Well, yeah, it's 30%, but it has the shipping to the customer included.
Plus, it's 30% of a higher price 99.9% of the time than you could have charged anywhere else.
Right, and you probably could have got $34.99 for that item on top of that, but people don't factor in that includes the shipping as well, whereas the merchant fulfill doesn't,
It includes shipping and customer service.
And you don't ever touch it again.
Yeah, that's completely worth it. And I don't I don't agree with people saying that it eats 30% of my profit. It's not eating 30% of your profit. Like they say like that $30 was their profit.
But they have to take that $30 and go, okay, what would it have cost me to ship this merchant fulfilled? Oh, it cost me $7.50, so that gets me down to $22.50.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would have eaten into your profit either way. That was never your profit.
Exactly. But that's the thing. So many people think that is their profit, and it's not your profit. It is not your profit. And that's what that's my big thing is to just think about it. Think about what it's going to really cost you to ship that item. Like we said, so many people, it surprises me that they don't think about shipping. They'll get this like 50-pound item, oh, I can, I got this for $1 and I can sell this for 50. And it's this huge item that's going to cost them goodness knows what to ship it. It just drives me crazy.
I have an item that I didn't think enough about whenever I bought it. I paid $5 each for them, and the fees are $7.74. And then the item is only selling for about $19.99. That's what it was selling for when I put it in. But then somebody wanted to tank the price a little bit and got it down to like $17.49. So 12, that comes out to what, $12.74. If I can get it to sell, I might make $3 or $4 on each one.
And is it heavy or oversized?
It's not oversized at all. It was but it was kind of heavier because it was a bottle of cleaner. So it was a heavier item, and so I didn't think about it enough when I sent them in. I was like, okay, well, I can make, about $10, and then, no, I'm not making $10. If they sell, this guy that lowered the price too much, don't do that. Don't lower the price too much. Just share with people. Goodness. Like, I mean, I have an item I got in on with somebody, and I didn't lower the price. I just shared it with them, and we just go back and forth and sell together. So, yeah, I should have thought it more through. I'm glad I didn't buy more because I almost bought like 30 of these things.
Did it take you over a pound? Like, is the, oh.
Yeah.
That's where your big difference comes in, on FBA is once you go over a pound.
Yeah, and I didn't think about that. I didn't think about that at all when I was buying it. I was just like, okay, well, this will be easy. Just put a label on it, send it off. If I make $5 on each one, I made $50, and no big deal. Hoo-ha.
Right.
But no, that's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is I might squeak by with $20, maybe.
Doing the bundle book and figuring out the exact fees and things for each example, I've actually, and I thought that I had just complete and total grasp on the fees and the fee structure and how it worked and things. And doing the, pricing out these bundles and splitting out, to show people what the fees would be on each bundle, I've actually learned quite a bit about, the size, the weight, and paying attention, to changing products out to keep it from turning into an oversized, item, and how to make sure that I keep it, try to keep everything under 1 pound. If you can't, how's that going to mess with your, with your profit and dimensional weight.
I mean, the weight only added the weight only added like another $1 to.
But still, that's $1. And if you had 100 of those items and you added up, what I mean? That would be, and that's where I encourage new sellers. I mean, when you scan an item with the Seller app or with Profit Bandit, I mean, whether or not you look at the actual numbers, of course, Profit Bandit and the Seller app show you because they've got the dimensions figured in. But if you're just out and you're looking stuff up on your phone and you're like, oh, I'll pay $1 and I can FBA it for $19.99, always keep in mind the size of the item and the weight of the item. And it's like you just said, Danica, my dad, with the when we had the UPS store, he used to, they would send in he would order bags of packing peanuts, and he would order them by the truckload full from a little local company 100 miles away. Well, they would always want to charge him shipping, and he's like, why? And then finally, of course, being in that kind of business, it dawned on him one day, an 18 cubic foot bag of packing peanuts is like 6.5 feet tall by 3 feet by 3 feet. It's huge. You can only fit so many of those in the truck, even though it weighs 2 pounds or 3. I mean, literally, you can pick them up with one hand, that huge bag. But then at the same time, on the flip side, when you're out, just because the item's small, if it's a DVD box set and it weighs 6 pounds, or like a textbook, Textbooks are a really good example. I see people all the time, I'm going to send this into FBA. Well, that's a 6-pound textbook. It may be small, but when you pay FBA fees on that, you are going to pay essentially to have it second day aired to your customer. Your fees are going to be based on second day airing it to a customer on a 6-pound item. I mean, think about that. You got to think about weight and dimension, and not just what your phone says and what the numbers run in your head. You got to look at all the rest of that too, if that makes sense.
No,
It
but
does.
the internet told me, and what the internet tells me is always true.
Internet can't lie.
The internet don't lie.
It just, I don't know, like, the fact that, not saying like I'm omnipotent or something, but the fact that I've learned like so much the past 2 weeks, about the fee structure, something that I thought that I completely had totally down pat. I thought that I had the Amazon fee thing actually completely memorized. It just, the dimensional weight, that's a big thing. Like what they're changing the stuff to on the oversized items where it's dimensional weight, or the $1.59 plus 39 cents per pound over 2 pounds, whichever one is greater. So I'm one of those people, I prefer something like this sized anyways. I consciously look for small things. But it's totally a bolo for a little black box.
Can I get that UPC a little better? Hold on.
You can.
Just hold it up so we can scan it. Hang on.
That one you probably couldn't get cheap enough. Like, I got it. That's like...
I saw the brand. I don't want to touch that brand.
Exactly.
You're braver than I am.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I couldn't help it though. It was only $1.
Big lots.
I never find any makeup that, even when they're on clearance, that are even worth sending in, because after the
oh my gosh,
like,
I do constantly. Like, I constantly find like $15 makeup that's on clearance for like 69 cents or $1.
I feel like we live on a different planet.
Where are we talking about?
Makeup, like finding makeup for
Makeup
FBA.
is worthwhile.
I usually check it at some store. Of course, you know me. I'm the Tampax king, so I'm always in the feminine hygiene and makeup product area, looking at all that stuff. But makeup, I've never had really good luck with. But there's a few brands that really scare me, which you got to be really careful of on Amazon.
That one's one of them.
That is one of them, and L'Oreal's one of them, and I mean, there's a lot of them that if you search on Alibaba.com, show up quite frequently.
Yep.
So those are highly counterfeited, so you have to be super, super careful. So
yeah, only get those at your, like these I got from Shopco.
right.
But yeah, don't get those at a thrift store or, at one of your little, what do you guys call them?
Garage sale.
Like honey hole place. I hate that term, by the way.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I got the makeup at my honey hole
I hate that
for my
term.
for my sweetie.
That's so gross. It's like, But yeah, Revlon is one of the biggest. It is. Well, is it the biggest counterfeited makeup brand? Is Revlon the #1?
Either Revlon or L'Oreal, from everything I've ever seen in Amazon forums and different forums. I mean, that's two of the big ones that get people booted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and all they're going to have to do is claim counterfeit.
Yeah. Well, I kept my receipt from the box store that I purchased it from, and it has UPCs on it. So I think I'd be okay to fight it. That's the only reason that I went ahead and...
It's fine.
Well, I went ahead and got it, but I know what the fees are on it. Duck face. So, like what we were talking about with the ROI, I'm interested to know, do you guys, do you figure your ROI? Like, do you actually sit down and figure out your ROI on any of your products? And if you do you use true profit in your equation, or do you use your sell price in your equation? Because like I said, it's gains minus cost divided by cost. for that gains, do you use your sell price or do you use your true profit price? Like your true profit number that you got back, your net profit?
I take what I sold it for, subtract out what I paid for it, and subtract out my fees, and then whatever the difference was in what I received for shipping and what I spent for shipping. And and that's where I get my profit. I don't know what gobbledygook you were talking about just now.
It's just the calculation for ROI, like the equation for ROI.
I'm not very smart.
There's different. Okay, here you go. This came up a while back with something else. And my dad, when I grew up in the grocery business, Dad always did net margins or net profit, and it was, oh God, cost. This has been a few years. Cost divided by retail subtracted from 100. I think I can't remember the exact formula. And that would bring you up with, if you paid 75 cents for an item in the dairy department and you sold it for $1, you had a 25% net. And there's all kinds of different formulas. There's ROI, there's net profit, there's profit margins, and there's different formulas to figure each one of them up. And honestly, it bogged me down for so many years, and I hated the formulas so bad that if you ask me what kind of ROI do I make, I mean, I shoot for getting 3 or 4 times my money back. There's my simple answer. I don't have a percentage for you, but you know what? If I can spend $20,000 this year and I can profit $90,000, then there you go. There's my ROI.
See, I think it's intimidating.
It is.
Like I think I was talking to Jake about it. Like he said that it was extremely intimidating and I can't even remember the word he used, but basically it doesn't make sense. Like, how that gives you, what your return on investment is. But it makes sense if you break down what the actual thing is. And the only reason that I even know about it is, from stocks and figuring out that kind of stuff.
Right.
But to me, it's a really good indicator of just how much you're actually making, just how much you're actually bringing home. If you're only getting like a 10% ROI on all of your products, that's a very slim margin.
I think when you first start out, it's a really good idea to figure out how much you're really making. I think, as you go on and on, you kind of just you kind of just roll with it, and you know that you're making money because it's all in your head, But it's a really good idea within your first year or even your first 2 years to really figure out especially in your first year, even your first 6 months, to really figure out what you're making, because there's a lot of people not making anything. Because when it comes around to it and how much they're putting in, and you also need to consider all of that stuff you bought and didn't list. Because I see a lot of people get really excited about things, and they're like, I'm going to make so much money, and then they don't ever even list it. It's almost like an adrenaline rush, and I see a lot of people saying, like, I'm addicted to buying, and then they laugh about it, but they really are, and it really is a big issue. I did that for a long time with, the first year or two that I was in business, all of my money went back into the business, because I was buying stuff. It was exciting, so I wasn't making any money, and I was also hoarding things, like basically, just storing stuff up because I was buying it on an adrenaline rush, not doing things educated, and that's a big thing that I have going into. I keep talking about March, but that's my big plan for March, is to be very educated about the things that I'm buying and making sure they're worth my while, making sure that the time that I spend on them and the space that they're taking in my home and, the time I spend shipping them, that's the thing that people also don't consider. If you're shipping bigger stuff, man, Franken-boxing things can take you 45 minutes, So keep those things in mind when you're buying things and how you're pricing them out, and because you might yeah, you made $15, but you didn't really make $15 because when it was all said and done, you spent 2 hours on that thing. You know, that
If
one
we're
item, listing it, photoing it, shipping it, sitting around BSing with it, cleaning it, or whatever, it wasn't worth your time.
If I did more eBay, then I would have to have an hourly wage figured out for myself, and that would have to be applied into my pricing strategy because
Yeah,
eBay
I
stuff
think
takes so much time.
Mm-hmm.
That would have to be a huge part of my pricing and things like that for eBay. I don't
And you
do.
got to account for returns, and you got to account for I'm not going to say waste, but I've got shelves and shelves full of inventory that when I went out to yard sales, I bought stuff, and I paid $1 for that, and $1 for that, and $3 for that, and $2 for that, and I never got around, and they'll end up going to a yard sale, and I'll probably break even. But in the overall scheme of things, you've got to kind of account for. In my brain, I kind of always account for worst case scenario, 10% waste,
Yeah.
or returns, or damage, or whatever you want to call it, and it's never that much. You look at my overall sales per year, it's never that much, but I still account for it mentally. I mean, I
Yeah,
kind of
Well,
math is like Rain Man.
it's
Because,
like but it's a cost of business, and I think
right,
that a lot of people don't factor that stuff in. Like you have, you've got a lot of costs, business costs, cost of doing business, whatever you want to call it, and you really do need to take that stuff into account because it does affect your bottom line.
right.
Whether you realize it or not, it affects what ends up in your bank account and gets to stay there. There's just a lot more to it than, oh my God, I get to go shopping. Oh my God, now I need to sell it. I just don't want to see. I'm just tired of seeing people that end up losing. They end up losing money and end up in a worse position than they were before they even started this, trying to get themselves out of.
or they can't figure out why they're always not making it. Like why the money's not enough. They know they're making money. They know they sold a lot, but it's not enough, and they can't figure out why.
Right.
Hold on. Some people are asking questions in the.
I'm trying to catch up with them, and
they're
going way too fast.
Somebody said Rain Man Dusty, but I do. My wife makes fun of me because we'll go through the drive-through. Like I sucked at every subject in school, but I can do. Like I used to get my dad's formulas that he would give me in the grocery store. I would get them up here, but I was like, I don't need all that paper. And that's kind of, I run my business with receipts and, everything through an accountant. But at the same time, I don't, when I'm figuring deals and whether or not I want to make money, I don't do it. I do it up here, and I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of old school. I don't know. I'm probably like that guy back in the 1920s that run the mercantile store downtown, that didn't keep everything in the ledger and just kept it all in his head. And I don't know how to explain how I do what I do, but it makes sense. And I keep track of, like, I can't remember my wife's anniversary, but I can remember phone numbers, and I can remember, how much. If you could point any item in my office right now, I could tell you where I bought it. I could almost tell you the street number, and I can tell you what I paid for it.
I can too.
But don't ask me my ROI because I'm going to be like, whatever. I can tell you what I bought it for, what I sold it for, but I don't do all the other accounting type formulas.
And see, that stuff, it just makes sense to me. Like, that's how I work. Like, that's how
everybody has a different
function, Wait, what did I confuse you on, Larry?
I don't know. Apparently, I brought up the mercantile, so...
I'm trying to keep up with everybody, guys, and you guys are going way too fast for me. Like, I can't.
Yeah, y'all.
It's like the fastest chat I've ever seen.
It like goes by the time I can read one. It's like, there it goes again.
Danica reads slow. Please type slow for Danica's slow reading.
Guys, to type slower.
Yeah, a big part of the reconsideration that I'm doing with things is trying to get out of time suck products that they're taking me to either too long to prep or too long to ship, or they're taking too much space, or and really just trying to focus on higher return items that, because we were just mentioning it yesterday, takes the same amount of time to list a $5 item as a $50 item. And personally, I don't have the time. I don't list fast enough. I have to take that into consideration, too, when I buy things, because some people, they can whip through listings. I can't. I'm really slow about it. If I get 10 listed in a day, it's like monumental, woo, celebration time, throw some confetti. I listed 10, and some people can do 10 an hour. I wish I was them. I'm not. And so I have to take that into consideration when I'm buying stuff, because if I buy 30 things, it might take me a week or 2 or 3 to list those 30 things,
Yeah. I like that you're doing your whole restructuring.
Me too.
I do. I like it because I don't know. I think it's exciting to see, just to watch you in like the direction that you're moving in. I like it. I think I like that you're not saying like you're taking it seriously. Not saying that, but it's like.
But I am. That is what's happening.
I know, but I didn't want to say, because I don't think you've been playing around for years. That's not what I'm saying. It's just.
I have. I've been bullshitting. I'm a very lazy person. I can waste hours and hours and hours on it. I can waste weeks and look back and be like, what did I accomplish? A whole lot of nothing. So this, like when I keep saying, okay, I'm going to list like crazy in February because March is this, I have to do it, because if I don't, I'm going to turn around and look like a big fat fool. I'm going to be like, hey, look at me, I'm lied. And...
How was that again?
I like that.
Yeah, that's why today when I was talking, I'm going to stop doing the baby thing. It was on top of that, that's 2 days out of my week that's a lot of days, So I got to let that go too. I have no other job right now. I have no other income. I got to get serious, because I have for the last 3 years just BS'd around with my business. And the fact that I made so much money or did so many sales is like, I don't even know how that happened.
I had to admit I am not a picker, and now I am so much happier.
Who said that?
What does that mean?
Yeah. I had to admit I am not a picker. I don't know what that means.
You got to be a picky picker. That's the picky picker.
Maybe it's your dislike. Maybe it's Danica's dislike of the picker term. I don't like the term picker.
I don't like the term picker. It's like picking your nose. And that's my level of maturity, peeps. I feel like instead of making things make more sense for people, that I've just completely made it worse. Like, so many people just seem confused.
It's not a thing that we weren't going to solve your problems. Let's be State Farm. We are starting a conversation. We are not solving a problem.
ROIs.
So.
And ensuring a profit.
So, okay, how do you know when to stop spending money buying inventory without going broke?
I don't know. I need to figure that out.
When you
just keep shopping. But I mean, but honestly, that is true. That was Caesar's geniusness right there. But that's a really good point, because I do see a lot of people talking about, I don't have any money for sourcing. I'm blah blah blah. But they're still going out, sort of like they're still spending money.
Because they're addicted. It's an addiction to.
With me, if I didn't have the money, there's times we're down to that. There's times we're down to, hey, we got this amount of money. This is what we got to invest in more inventory. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to not mind walking into a thrift store and walking back out and skipping over, and I'm not picking on these items, but skipping over the suits and the shoes and the coffee mugs, because to me, those aren't worth.
Stop picking on my shoes, Dusty.
I don't like selling clothing, don't get me started, but
I don't do clothes, but I do shoes.
if I'm down to my last $100, I'm going to be a lot more wise when I go out picking, because I'm going to look for the items that are quick flips, quick money, fast return. Get, if it's an eBay item, back on the PayPal card within 48 hours to flip that money again. Now, if I have some savings built up and had a good fourth quarter, had a good Christmas, then yeah, I'm going to do some long tail items. I'm going to do some shot in the dark type, iffy type items, if that makes sense. I mean, there's your answer, Caesar. That's all I got.
Well, but I think that is, you need to, well, for me, and this is really easy for me to say because we all know that doesn't do anything for anything but go right back into it. So take this with a grain of salt. If your business isn't producing enough money for you to continue purchasing inventory, if you're going broke trying to get inventory on a continual basis, and I don't mean just in the beginning, and I don't mean just once in a while, but if it is continually that you are having to spend every little bit you have to get some inventory, you're not doing it right. And you need to really look at what it is that you're doing and look at the things that you're purchasing. Look at your, look at your, number one, I would say to look at your inventory choices. You need to figure out some way to stretch and get a higher return, or you may just need to get out of the niche that you're in.
So yeah, I have to agree with that. It's you really have to look at what you're buying, and I see people buy things, and I'm not, I've seen photos of like, oh, I spent $50 on this, and it's a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, all of that's no good. I'm like, why did you buy that? Because it's going to take forever to sell that, and I know that there are people, like those particular people I know, like personally, that they don't have the money to wait a year to get their money back on that $50 that they spent. They don't have it. It's just not there. And so, but they're buying things that maybe they saw other people were selling, and so they got into that particular field, and then, they didn't think about that it was going to take them so long to get their money back.
You're better off, and it took me years to figure this out, you're better off to hit 10 thrift stores in one day and only come up with one item that's a home run that will sell very quickly and make you a ton of money than you are to hit one thrift store and come up with 10 items that are, and I hate to keep picking on coffee mugs, but that are little bitty items that will take forever to sell. If that makes sense.
For a very small profit margin.
For a very small profit, and in the meantime, you've got all your money tied up. Go for, I mean, this is me personally, and this is what's worked for me and being, I feel successful in it over the years, is go for the quick flip. Go for the quick money. Somebody posted something in resellers the other day and said, hey, I bought all these video games for $1,500. I can part them out and I can sell them individually and probably get 10 grand on eBay, or I've got a local guy that wants to give me $4,000. I'm like, take the $2,500 profit on a $1,500.
Go for the $4,000
and run, because then you got $4,000 worth of working money. What if you took that $4,000 and found a $4,000 deal that you could flip? I mean, that's not necessarily going to happen, but flip into $10,000. I mean, take the money, take the quick flip, and run. And Chad and I always laugh about that because he gets beat up about it. But I'm kind of the same mindset, and it's worked. I mean, I got some stuff that sits in my inventory and sits there forever and ever, but for the majority of it, I go for the quick flip, get my money back on the total investment on the load for the day, and sink it back in and keep flipping.
Well, we know that I do parts, and parts is a slow business.
I'm totally just messing with you now. Go ahead.
Like, I do parts, and parts is a slow business. It is a long tail business. You have to wait on that. It goes right along in with plush and stuffed animals. But the thing about parts is that it's one unit and you're getting 5 to 6, 7, 8 parts off of one thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I will get my money back pretty much immediately. At least one of those parts is going to sell right away.
And that's got your money back off all of it.
I've got my money back right away on the whole thing.
Yep.
And then all the other 5 to 8 things, well, those are all my profit. And I don't care if those sit because they're small, they don't take a lot of space, and I don't care if they sit 6 months or a year. I already got my money back, And once you build up enough of that momentum, I've spent 3 years building up momentum. Once you've got that momentum built up, then you can wait because you've got orders coming in on a constant basis. But you have to keep on listing those things like that if you're going to be in a long-tail business. You have to take the time to build the momentum up. And I get my money back right away, so I can reinvest in things that are faster sellers too. And then throwing in FBA has also helped a lot because I can wait on these things while I'm selling these things as soon as they hit the warehouse. I put my hands in the thing. I got them in all the cookie jars. So.
Damn, what's all the cookies? Give y'all the damn cookies.
Adam ate all the cookies. In case you didn't hear earlier today, he ate all the cookies.
I don't mind long tail, but not even half. Not even half of my things are long tail. Like, not even close. Probably maybe 25% of the stuff is long tail. I'm not a turn and burn. That's just not me. I'm greedy. So I don't turn and burn. But I don't want to sit on something for 6 months either. But if I know that if I hold on to something I'm gonna get 50, I'm not gonna sell it for 15. Just to get that quick,
right.
Little bit.
Well, what I do is put best offer on things, so I price them real good, high, and then if I need the money or I haven't got any sales are slow, things are dragging along, and I get an offer that's less than what I wanted, that's okay, and I'll take it. I can make that decision at that time that, I'd rather just take the 35 than wait out the 59 or to wait out the 49 or whatever. And that, so I put best offer on everything that I have, and a lot of people complain about, I got a really low best offer, and I'm like, so that means people are looking at your stuff.
Somebody thought they could get a deal. You move on. Like, I don't understand. That's something else. I don't like well, here I am being negative about something I don't like.
You are negative Nancy today. You hate everyone.
I don't like it. Don't. No, there's just so much. There's so much complaining, and there's so much. I hate to say it, but there's so much whining and bitching and moaning about, people's businesses. Just complaining and things, and I don't see enough action being taken, and I don't see enough learning. I don't see enough positive moves forward. Yeah, I don't see people taking responsibility for these things. You put yourself there. You made those decisions. You made those purchases and those choices. Now you need to figure out what to do about it and learn from it so that you can make more informed choices next time.
Sorry, you breathed.
No, I know. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's something that I had to learn early on because I did have that syndrome of I only paid 50 cents for it. And I remember specifically saying when I first started out, all I want back is 3 times what I paid for it. So if I paid $1 for it and I could sell it for 12 and I profited 5, it was like, yay, touchdown dance. I totally scored. And I didn't take into consideration all the time commitments and things, and taking into consideration returns. I had some items that I sold Christmas time, merchant fulfilled FBA, that if I would have gotten like one more return, it would have been a wash. It would have been a total waste of my time. I would have zeroed it out, and it would have been worthless. I just wasted all those hours.
I completely agree. Yaya said that she's like me. She's a medium burn seller.
You just keep it smoldering.
I like it.
I'm kind of medium, but I'm also, like I said, I'm also I like the fast flip. Here's how my mind works when I go out. Like if you watch, I'm gonna plug my videos for a second. But seriously, like my latest haul video, my wife and I went to our storage unit. If I can find one item. When I went out for the day and I bought the carload full of stuff, whether it be that I went to 4 different thrift stores or I went to our storage unit buyer place and I just bought one big load from him, if I can find 1 to 2 to 3 items out of those 20 or 50 items or whatever that I can get my money back, then I'm already in the clear. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? My family's bank account, as far as, because we're a DBA. I'll be honest about that. We're not incorporated. We're not whatever. The money gets commingled. I mean, it gets done as a DBA. I mean, it gets kept separate on the books. But, you know, basically, essentially, it's one bank account that the bills come out of and everything comes out of. And so I'd like to see that bank account stay right here and never go lower. So if I start right here for the day, I go out buying, and then it drops to here. And then when all of a sudden I go, okay, when I come home, I got to list some stuff. If I can sell 3 or 4 items or 2 items and it comes back up to here, then I've never touched our money for the household, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I've got that money back, and then all the other 35 items, that's all profit and gravy.
Yeah, I do that too. I'm like, I made all my money back off this one thing.
There you go.
I bought these 15 things. All that money's coming back off this one thing.
And it's probably the worst mental accounting system ever, but it works for me to keep track of.
We went to accounting school together, I think, Dusty.
We went to the old mercantile man.
You went wrong. You both went to the wrong place.
Danica would like look at our books and start crying and screaming at us.
Back in the day, I'm going to go to Danica's homeschooling math class tomorrow.
I need to go there too.
Whiteboard.
Apparently I'm doing it all wrong.
Are you going to make me do a Kanban board? Do you know what those are?
No.
Your husband's an engineer team type, right?
He's an engineer, yeah.
Yeah, ask him if he knows what a Kanban board is.
Kanban?
Yeah, it's for workflow. It's more computer programmers, but.
Oh, I was going to say, is he going to laugh at me? Like, is this a dirty joke?
Nobody involves.
I'm like, hey, Dad, do you know what a Kanban board is? I'm like.
It involves workflow and mapping things out and complicated formulas to keep a company moving. And we worked for a guy one time that did all that. And I was like, really? Seriously? How about just like Post-it notes with to-do lists?
I like Post-it notes.
He's like, no.
I'm not complicated. Not all complicated. It's
you're
just
high maintenance.
I am totally high maintenance. Amen. I'm not even going to lie. Not going to lie.
Not gonna lie.
Not gonna lie.
Oh, but bubble.
Oh, that was so
It's 8 o'clock.
I know. I just looked at my phone. Okay, so that's it for us tonight, guys. I hope that this was not just way more confusing.
Feel like we hate all
already
anything now.
We're just totally trying to ruin your books. That's all we're doing. We just want to ruin your business. But anyways. That was creepy, wasn't it? If you do have questions about it, feel free to ask. It's not complicated. Maybe I'm not saying it like right for you or whatever. But, I probably should have had like an example or something that I could have shown, at least for the ROI thing. But anyways, appreciate you guys watching, hanging out with us. Next week is going to be the family show. We're going to do how our family supports our selling adventure or whatever, their role in the businesses and things. Deb's going to have her daughter, and Dusty's going to be on with his loverly wife, and I'm going to duct tape John to a chair. And so if anybody else wants to, bring your family on, let me know, and we'll talk. Okay? So thanks for watching, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Bitcoin.